It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell. Friday the 13th. Boo. Does anybody know the real story on Friday the 13th? Every time I try to look it up, I get different answers. There's the one that we've heard since we were kids. Oh, it's because there were 13 people at the Last Supper. And, of course, Judas betrays Christ and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. You know, when Christians decided to take everything over, they really did. They just took over every story, every holiday, everything was. So I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. Let's see. Why is it unlucky in Spain? Let's see. I'm reading here from just the old Google machine. See what they have to say. While the UK is traditionally wary of Friday the 13th, in Spain it is supposedly a Tuesday that is the bad luck day. On Tuesday the 13th, people have been known to avoid getting married, going on a boat, embarking on a journey, and even leaving the house. Okay. All right, well that's kind of where we all are now, right? Due to COVID, we're not going to go on a boat. Did you hear there's actually one cruise ship out there? Yeah, some cruise line just decided, what the hell? Let's do it. Sea Dream 1 left Barbados on Saturday for a 7-night voyage. 4 days into the trip, 4 days into the trip, guests were told that a passenger tested positive for the virus. Of course. And at last count, here, let's see, at least 5 passengers now tested positive. The ship's owner, Sea Dream Yacht Club, is not yet confirmed. Yeah, let's all go out on boats together. That's a great idea. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, Friday the 13th. Getting married, going on a boat, embarking on a journey, leaving the house. No, you don't want to do those things on Friday the 13th or in Spain on Tuesday the 13th. And you don't want to do them on any day anymore until this damn virus is taken care of, which is going to be, we got to be realistic about this thing. At the rate that it's spreading, the timetable on any kind of treatments and vaccines, we got another year of this. We're not going to be going back to congregating. And it's just the way it is. We just had Veterans Day, and people just bend over backwards and go gaga over the sacrifice of those who served in the military. Thank you for your service, and it's such a big deal. Yeah, people who join the military do make a great sacrifice, and their families make a great sacrifice, and they're separated from each other. If you're one of those people, and I assume you are because it's literally everybody who just fawns over the military and praises them up and down for their sacrifice in order to save American lives. Well, can't we emulate that a little bit? The same thing is now asked of us with Thanksgiving coming up. Sacrifice seeing your family, your extended family. Just like military service members sacrifice seeing their families on Thanksgiving, or for 2 Thanksgivings, or 3 or 4 Thanksgivings. Missing school concerts and birthday parties. We can't do the same thing? Just 2 days ago, you were celebrating veterans for that very thing. Okay, do it yourself. We can do it. By comparison, it's a hell of a lot easier. Can I not go to the bar? Can I not go to the corner bar for a while? Is that going to kill me? We're not asked to strap on a gun and go shoot the virus. Maybe people would be happier with that. I know there's a certain cohort in this nation, the Michigan militia types, would be happy with that. If they were called on to go shoot the virus with their AR-15s and AK-47s and their khakis and fatigues and camo outfits, their little outfits they like to dress up in. Oh, they love the dress up. That's the funny thing about those guys. They really seem to enjoy the dressing up, you know? Uh, what were we talking about? Oh, the 13th. Why is 13 unlucky? Well, let's continue our little investigation here. This is an in-depth investigation with your basic front page Google search. What happens if your birthday is on Friday the 13th? Some people are too superstitious to have a baby on Friday the 13th. Thousands of babies are born in the United States whenever Friday falls on the 13th of the month, but about 800 fewer than you'd expect if parents and other doctors who deliver their newborns treated it like any other day. So, in other words, they're lying, right? According to the official records, there are fewer babies born on Friday the 13th. So that means only one thing, that parents are convincing doctors to fudge the birth certificate. Oh, no, doctor, you can't put Friday the 13th on that birth certificate. Make it Thursday the 12th or Saturday the 14th, but please. Okay, fine. What's it to me? I don't care. Who cares? So that's got to be the case. It's basic deduction. Is it deduction or induction? I always get the two confused. Or convection. No, that's ovens. Yeah, the basic rule of logic. If you go to bed, there's no snow on the ground, and you wake up, there's snow on the ground, you can deduce or induce, again, I can never remember which is which, that it snowed last night. So, yeah, parents and doctors are fudging birth certificates. I always tease my sister about this because according to her birth certificate and according to my mother's story, my sister was born shortly after midnight on April 2nd. Yeah. Even as a little kid, I wasn't buying that. No, that's too much of a coincidence. I'll bet you anything she was born on April 1st. April Fool's Day. And they just didn't want to do that to her. I don't blame them at all. I think it's the right thing to do. But they never fessed up to it. And which is also the right thing to do. So good for them. Good for my parents. Good for them. They insisted to all of us that my sister was born 5 minutes after midnight in the wee hours of the morning of April 2nd. And not, as I'm sure she was, an April Fool's baby. But they didn't want to do that to her. Good for them. Good for them. Of course, we know there's no 13th floor or room 13. It's considered unlucky to have 13 guests at a table. There are a number of theories as to why the number 13 became associated with bad luck, but none of them have been accepted as likely. So I'm still having bad luck here myself. I think this has become a tradition with me. On every Friday the 13th, I do a quick little search, and I'm never satisfied with what I find. But apparently it's widespread over a number of cultures and religions. There's an ancient lunar cult that they talk about. It's both in Islam and Christianity. It's just all over the place. Different countries have different traditions. In France, 13 was traditionally considered a lucky number prior to the First World War and was used in numerical form as a good luck symbol on postcards and charms. In France. What's wrong with them? In Italy, 13 was the lucky number in the Italian football pools. The Italian expression "fair tredici," literally make 13, means to hit the jackpot. Yeah, there's just too much. There's way too much. The age, there's another big deal. The age of 13, when you turn 13 years old, of course, in Judaism, that's the time for your bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. In the Catholic Church, that's the time for your confirmation. So, I don't know, Friday the 13th. And then, of course, the movie franchise, which I know absolutely nothing about. I've never, ever been a fan of slasher movies. I've been a zero-tolerance violence guy pretty much all my life. I don't know, just wasn't having it. Just not interested. To this day, I know all the studies say that there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, a lot of researchers say that violence and slasher movies and things like that, violent entertainment, video games, is actually good for us. It releases something inside of us that needs to be released. Otherwise, we'd release it in the real world. I don't know. It could very well be true. So I'm not going to preach to anybody about how they shouldn't be violent video games or violent films. I'm not going to sermonize on that. Just for me personally, I don't want to see it. I don't even like seeing blooper videos where people fall and hurt themselves. I don't understand how that's entertainment. I honestly don't. When people really take falls on the ice, or there's the one where the guy jumps into a pool thinking it's water and it turns out to be ice. I don't want to see people get hurt. This is just odd to me. Now, the big over-the-top comedy stuff, the pratfalls, going back to early silent movies and Laurel and Hardy and the Three Stooges. Now, that can be funny. It's over the top. Wile E. Coyote falling down into the canyon. I'm fine with all of that. If it's over the top, if it's obviously exaggerated fake comedy, wonderful. But to actually see someone hurt themselves, fall out of a tree and crack their back, oh, look at the funny blooper. I've never understood that. Never understood that. And I just find it disturbing. Disturbing. Can you name that character from one of our favorite movies? I find it highly disturbing. That's Nurse Diesel, played by the great Cloris Leachman from the movie Young Frankenstein. That patient is very disturbed. So happy Friday the 13th. Hey, I've got an article for you. Headline, report, we could probably just have computer pick president. Dateline Washington. Noting that it would likely complete the task quickly and without any trouble, a Brookings Institution report released Monday stated that we could probably just have a computer pick the next president of the United States. Technology is pretty fast now, and it can do all kinds of different things, so we could probably just type the candidate's political positions and experience into a computer, press the Enter key, and then in a second or two, it should be able to tell us who should be president. Read the report in part, which confirmed that computers know how to drive cars, and one of them even won Jeopardy. So picking the best choice for president shouldn't be that hard. Quoting again from the report, we probably wouldn't even need to have candidates or campaigns or anything. Every 4 years, you could just put all Americans' names into the computer, run the president program, let it figure out who's the best person for the job, and then that person can get right to work. And that'd be it. Done. The report went on to add that, come to think of it, given how quickly technology was advancing, we could probably just have a computer be the president. Now, of course, that article is from The Onion. But here's the thing. I've talked about this very thing for years, and we talked about it on previous shows. And as onionish as this is, and it's very oniony, and it is indeed The Onion, let me repeat, that's The Onion. Satire, not real. But I honestly think there's something to this. I honestly think with the state of artificial intelligence, the fact that AI has been proven now to win at chess, to win at Go, it's taking over all sorts of white-collar jobs. It can do lawyer work better than a lawyer. All this preliminary research and strategizing, any kind of financial work, AI is already doing it better than the human mind. All kidding aside, I honestly think we could utilize AI to make political decisions. I think it makes perfect sense. Because we suck at this. We're terrible at this. Oh my God, we're terrible at politics. We're terrible at making decisions. We're just the worst. I mean, look at all the decisions we've made since we first stood upright and started walking around on this planet. It's as though every single decision just makes things worse and worse. as we lost our relationship with the earth and its rhythms. I'm not saying we had to stay in a primitive state. We could have advanced technologically, but oh my God, we could have done it smarter. The unintended consequences at every stage of development has been just devastating, to the point now where we're destroying our bodies with the toxic environments we live in and the toxins we're putting into our bodies. We're destroying the planet. We're killing off entire species by the hundreds, by the thousands. We still find happiness. Of course we find happiness. But where do we find happiness? With each other, through relationships. An area that AI could never step into. It could never threaten. We'd never have to worry about AI threatening those relationships. They're two entirely different spheres. Handing over political decisions and the best methods to achieve the distribution of goods. My God, AI could do 1,000 times better than us. So, hats off to the Onion. Sometimes they're just 100% right. I don't know if they realize this. I'd have to ask the writers. Someday, I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to do a little research. I'm going to have to call up the Onion and ask them this question. I'm going to say, often, you're 100% right with your articles. Do you realize that when you write them, or is that an accident? Are you just trying to be funny and you stumble into a brilliant, cogent argument? Or are you aware that it's a brilliant, cogent argument? Yeah, just enter every American's name into the computer, and the computer can tell us who's president. Or better yet, the computer itself can be president. I don't even think that's a joke. I think it makes perfect sense. Because the level of inequality right now, the great chasm between the haves and the have-nots around the world, the blind dedication to money and profit, yeah, we could do better. We could absolutely do better. If we don't hand it over to AI, at least we got to do some serious reform here. And as far as the presidency goes, the American presidency, what a dangerous job that is. I got to tell you, if the Orange Menace was the best president ever in history, and if he was my favorite president in history, if he was just doing everything right, I would still be worried at the kind of power that position has. That office has way too much power. I mean, as we speak, and I don't know what's going to happen in the near future or far future, but as we speak, he still absolutely controls the Republican Party. Yes, every day a couple of others kind of peel away just a little bit. But for the most part, he's got control of the entire party. He's got control of the base, and he's got control of even the leadership. Mitch McConnell is with him. Most of the Republican members of Congress are with him, even while he descends further and further into madness. No one single person should have that much influence or power. It's a real serious glitch in the system. And if he were my ideal president, if he advanced every progressive item on my agenda, I would still oppose that kind of power for one single person. Yeah, we can't be having this. Even in his current maniacal state, still is the undisputed king of the Republican Party and its base. And even though Joe Biden won the presidency, Democrats didn't do very well at all down ballot, and they continue to show their weakness in the face of their Republican opponents. It might well be time for a third party. And, I was thinking about that after we spoke last time. We have to find a new term. If there's one out there, let me know. Third party is a term we have to lose permanently. We have to stop using the term third party. I don't know why I never thought of this earlier. I've been using the term third party all my life. And just last night, it hit me out of the blue. No, wait a minute. That language is totally wrong. It's completely dismissive. The term third party suggests that it's inferior to the two de facto parties. Well, the Republicans and the Democrats, obviously, are the supreme parties. Anything else is a third party. When you think about it, that term is really just a terrible insult. How could anyone ever take it seriously? The term itself suggests that this party will never have any power. It will only be a thorn in their side. So I don't know what that alternative term is. I need your help. Let's think of a better term. Because I think it's time. I think we need to support a new party, a new dominant party. I think the Republicans need to just continue their fall off the cliff until they're just in the history pages. And the Democrats, they can continue to do their little corporate song and dance. But real progressives, real progressives, the real left, capital L left, a People's Party, a Labor Party, whatever you want to call it, a progressive party. We are so overdue. And of course, voters are told, well, you can't do that because then, it's the whole lesser of two evil arguments, and we don't have to go into that. We're all very familiar with that. And now that the Orange Menace has been vanquished, the Orange Menace, singularly, the very worst. We reached rock bottom, where he's still trying to conduct his little coup and deny the rightful winner of a democratic election. And that's not even to mention all of his other abhorrent policies and conduct over 4 years that we don't have to delineate right now. So the lesser of two evils argument actually, it had some legs this time around. And I bought into it. But we can't rely on that argument every 4-year cycle or every 2-year cycle. I think it would well serve the American people if a good portion of them decided, no more two parties, a new better party, a new dominant party, a new competitive party, the real left, capital L left, progressives, socialists. Fly that flag and just go for it. Even if there are a couple of losses on the way to victory, I think it's time. And maybe a computer as president is a good idea. Hey, just short of that, here's an idea. How about we call it the poll party? Now, hear me out on this one. This is not a joke either. This is not a joke. I never joke. None of this is a joke. How about if party leaders of a new party stand up and say, whatever the polls say, all the polls across the nation, get the aggregate, and if 87% of the American people agree that there should be universal background checks on every single gun purchase, then the poll party will support that position and fight for it. If 68% of Americans are in favor of universal health care, then the poll party will fight for that position. The poll party. That's not a bad idea. Just make that your platform. Whatever the current poll is, we'll do it. And then you're just trusting the American people. And when you look at the polls, again, as we've been saying this week, there's a great deal of agreement on the major issues from the American people. They want to regulate corporations. They want to regulate the financial industry. Americans want tough environmental laws. They want a living wage. They want free public college. They favor a woman's right to choose. Issue after issue. Look at the polls. Consistently, year after year. Yeah, I suggest we form the poll party and run candidates up and down the ballot all over the country. Brilliant. He's brilliant. Now, you might say, okay, let's troubleshoot this a little bit. You might say, well, that's what voting is. We already have that. The voters decide who their representatives will be. So that's the only poll that really matters. But that's not true. Let's go back to that 87% of Americans favoring universal background checks for gun purchases. It's at least 87%. Do we have universal background checks? No, we don't. Is there any chance of ever passing such legislation? Under our current system, not a chance in hell. The great majority of Americans believe in universal health care. Do we have it? Nope. Are the Dreamers guaranteed protection? No. No. What voters want and what they get are two very different things, regardless of how they vote. There's this huge disconnect between what Americans want and what we get from our elected representatives. So, no, the vote itself, every 2 years, every 4 years, is not translating into the will of the people, and it hasn't for quite some time. There's almost no relationship between what we want and what we get. All right, so I still think the poll party thing makes sense. All right, here's another possible problem here. We got to troubleshoot. This new party, the poll party, should we be basing this on national polls, or should local candidates, you would think, it makes sense, local candidates base their platform positions on local polls? Well, see, now there you might have a problem, because now we're getting into some dangerous territory. Because in certain towns, in certain counties, in certain states, you're going to have Christianity as the official religion. You're going to have zero tolerance on women's reproductive rights. You're going to have teachers in public schools forced to teach creationism. Yeah, that could be a problem. Yeah, okay. We got to figure that one out. I guess maybe I haven't thought this through. It did just sort of pop into my head. I'll confess. So I'm not sure if this works on the local level. There's an awful lot of harm that religious bigots can do. Yeah, in the name of religious freedom, the prejudice, discrimination. Yeah, I guess I haven't thought this through very well. It's just kind of off the top of my head. All right, we'll have to figure this one out. Let's make this your homework assignment for over the weekend. Flesh out this poll party idea. I think there's something to it. I think it could work. I think I'm onto something here. But we need to work out the kinks. So send me your ideas on the poll party. Homework assignment number 2, we need an alternative term for third party, because we're never going to use the term third party again, because it is inherently dismissive and assumes the supremacy of the Republicans and the Democrats. So we're going to remove the term third party from the American lexicon, but we need to replace it with something new. So there's your assignment number 2. Think of a new term to replace third party. And then finally, your homework assignment, once and for all, can we figure out the true origins of the number 13, why it's unlucky, and specifically Friday the 13th is unlucky? Because there are way too many explanations out there. There are pagan explanations and Christian explanations, and it seems every culture, every religion, everybody's got a different reason. And I'm not satisfied with any of them. So do your research on that. All right, get busy and report back to me. It's Charles Purcell at Gmail or Facebook or Twitter. I'm easy to find. Okay, there it is. Have a great weekend. Talk to you Monday.